Today, I will be making a super special Easter lamb cake. It may look nice and innocent and pretty and cute, but it has special things on the inside. So let's see how to make this. First, we'll be making marzipan. What you'll need is 2 cups confectioner's sugar, a teeny splash of almond extract, assorted food colorings, and 1 cup of almond flour. Add your almond flour to your food processor. Add your confectioner's sugar and mix. Put your hand over because it gets dusty until mixed thoroughly, around 30 seconds to a minute. And then add your water, a little bit at a time, and mix until it comes into a mass. There it is. Add your almond extract and mix a little bit. If it's too sticky, add some more almond flour. If it's too dry, add some more water. And process. All set. If you're not using it right away, be sure to refrigerate it, and before working with it, make sure that it comes to room temp. Time to make our first piece of what? We'll find out. Now here I am adding raspberry powder, but you can just as easily add food coloring, and you're going to knead this into the marzipan until you get just the right color. And here you can see I'm molding something a little special. Can you guess what it is? Also, make sure to leave some leftover marzipan that you'll be using later. And I'm using a toothpick and forming a brain. This gives you an idea of what we're doing. So just add all the little wrinkles so you have your cute little pink lammy brain. I looked up online to see, and this is what it looks like. It's kind of heart-shaped. There it is. The next one will be a nice dark red. Add your red food coloring and knead that in. We want a nice dark red for this next special thing. Can you tell what it is yet? It's a heart. Aw, so sweet. A little lamb heart. We'll be adding more to this little guy later. Now I'm doing, can you tell? Nice and squiggly. It's intestines with a nice light pink. It's like a little snake. Lamb intestines look much simpler than ours. It really looks like a little squiggly worm. Not that this is something you'd be thinking about when you're usually making a cake, but here we are. It has to look just right. And this is well, you can guess where it goes. Put 2 and 2 together. On to the next. This is the rumen, which is a part of the stomach, the main part of the stomach for a lamb or a sheep. I'm just doing a very pale pink for this guy. Now let's add the little lines to the heart. This is just with the marzipan with no dye added to it. And again, I looked online for reference. For this next one, I am doing a dark pink for the lungs. Marzipan, by the way, is super easy to work with. It's really like clay or Play-Doh. I am making the liver and the kidneys. Look at that nice dark red. And And if you notice, I'm using gloves because this gets sticky and the dye will get all over your hands. I'm adding some green and yellow to make it more brownish. Mix it, mix, mix, mix. This one is the most challenging to get the color for because you're getting something other than a shade of red. Doesn't that look delicious? Let's make our liver. These are not anatomically accurate size-wise. They're scale relative to each other. This is just what I like. And it can be whatever you like, because it's a cake, who cares? But it's missing something. We'll get back to that in a little bit. On to the kidneys. We all know how a kidney is shaped. This is really fun to do, by the way. It's like being a little kid with Play-Doh. All right, adding green. What do you think this is, kids? Let's see. What's green? What's a green little organ? We'll find out. The gallbladder. So cute. Now we're going to be making buttercream. We've got a cup of butter, half a cup of shortening, 5 cups confectioner's sugar, 2 to 4 tablespoons water, and a half to 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract or vanilla bean paste. Mix together the butter and the shortening until light and fluffy on medium speed. Then, little bit at a time, add your confectioner's sugar, otherwise it's going to go everywhere. And be sure to do lower speed. A little bit more. I do a bit less sugar than other buttercream recipes because I don't want a total sugar bomb, and I like it to be more of a buttery consistency, which you'll see. And I do add shortening here because it helps provide structure, I find, especially when you're using the frosting to be decorative. A little bit of water. Oh, nice and smooth and luscious. Vanilla. I use vanilla bean paste. It tastes so much better. You get those flecks of vanilla bean. I just love it. And mix that in. And refrigerate this until you need to use it, but be sure to have it come back to room temp in order to frost the cake. Now it's time for the cake. Let's start with the pan. This is my cast iron vintage lamb cake mold. You can use any kind of mold. This one, I was just so happy when I found it that it's what I decided to use. But we need to grease it with this quick release grease. Equal parts flour, shortening, and oil. It's my favorite thing to grease cake pans with. So you really want to get in those nooks and crannies because if you do not adequately cover this, it will stick. Kind of like a bundt pan, but even more so with this. Especially the ears and the edges. Do the same for the front piece. Again, along those edges. And the face, because the nose is pretty deep on it. This quick release stuff can be applied with paper towel like I'm using, or you can do a pastry brush. I prefer the towel, personally. Put it on a sheet pan until you're ready to use it. On to the cake. What you'll need is 2 cups all-purpose flour, 1.5 teaspoons baking powder, half teaspoon salt, 1/4 teaspoon baking soda, half cup or 1 stick of unsalted butter, 1 cup of granulated sugar, 2 eggs, and 1 cup of buttermilk or 1 tablespoon vinegar with the remainder in milk to make a cup, and 1/2 to 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. There we go. And I forgot to put it here, but you will also need a bottle of red food coloring for the cake. You will also need pink and black decorative icing. And seedless raspberry jam. Add your baking powder, salt, and baking soda to your flour, and whisk to combine. Add your butter, and your sugar to your mixer and mix on medium speed until light and fluffy, around 3 to 5 minutes. And then we're adding our eggs one at a time. Again, medium speed until they're fully incorporated. Egg number 2. By hand, I'm going to mix in the flour mixture and the buttermilk and red food coloring mixture, a third at a time until I run out. Add the full bottle of red food coloring to the buttermilk. To get that delightful red color, I wonder why I'm making it red. Some more flour. I prefer doing it by hand just so that you don't overbeat it and make the batter tough. Gotta love that color. And the vanilla. Vanilla bean paste is a pain to get out, but it's so good and so worth it. And now we have our batter. Beautiful. Now let's add it to the pan. You're going to want to put it in the front half of the lamb. And just make sure it's all spread out evenly, particularly the ears. Don't forget about the ears. And then place your back piece on top. For the cast iron version, it will lock in. Bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 50 to 60 minutes. Now, while it's cooking, we're gonna make our coconut grass flakes. You need a Ziploc bag, green food coloring, and sweetened coconut. You're just gonna put your coconut into your Ziploc bag. I use about half a bag, but you can do however much you want. And add your green food coloring. And shake it. The food coloring will bunch up in little globs, and you need to squish those to really distribute it. Tend to have to add more. Again, like with the marzipan, it's hard to know how much you're gonna need really. And get that all in there until it's nice and uniform. And set it aside. Let's check on our cake. After about 10-15 minutes, you can prop open the back piece and let it cool for a bit longer before you fully unmold it. Now, gently pull along the edges. Swap it gently. And there's our beautiful lamb. Bah. Look how cute. Now, some people say to not cool it upright. I cooled it upright and it was fine. Now let your cake cool completely. Now we're going to add our marzipan organs to our cute little lamb. You can see I'm resting the head over the ridge so that the lamb's head doesn't get smushed. I'm going to cut a rectangle along the back. And this is where most of the organs are going to go. Don't fully cut through the cake. And then cut it into thirds. And with your knife, cut into to release the pieces. And this is the cavity for the organs. Now we need seedless raspberry jam. This is optional, but I like it. And coat your organs in it, starting with the heart. This is approximate location. I'm not a lamb sheep anatomy expert, but this is where I'm guessing the organs go. That big liver. I think this animal has fatty liver or something. This thing is huge. Next, the rumen, the stomach. the intestines, and the kidneys. Now we're going to trim these pieces so they can fit back in. They don't have to fit perfectly. It is going to stick out, but we're going to fix that with buttercream. So get those pieces in. I forget which one's which. Oops. There. Covered with some raspberry jam because it's delicious and it's kind of like glue. Temporarily move the head because I don't want it to fall off when I'm cutting it. Cut a square where the brain will go and plop that in there. Trim this piece. Now we know that fits. Coat in some jam on the back, butter it with jam, so to speak. Just helps it stick more. And you can freeze this for several hours until fully hardened. Here it is. Now I'm going to add my, what I call glue buttercream. Again, head over the edge so that you don't smush it. Now I am coating to fill in all the seams so that the back of the lamb has a normal shape where you can't tell that I put all this stuff in it. Just all along the seams and smoothing it out. It's going to be covered with tons of decorative frosting, so you probably won't notice anyway. Now this part with the brain, over the brain, I use with my hands. It's very delicate. The head of the cake in general is pretty delicate, so it's best to work with your hands, like a sculptor. Now, prop up, because we're gonna put some jam on the front. Why? Because it's delicious and it looks gross, which I love. I'm giving it a massage, an unorthodox massage. What's funny is all these ridges you see in this pan, you are not going to see once it's decorated. I don't know why they bother, honestly. It makes it a pain to grease the pan. I don't put the jam on the ears because they're kind of difficult to work with and I don't want them to snap off, so I just try to not touch them too much. Now refrigerate for 1 to 2 hours. It is time for the crumb coat. For this, I'm doing a thin layer of buttercream on the entire cake, and this will serve as the base for me to decorate on top of, especially with this cake being red and having the raspberry jam on it. I want to have that pretty well covered up so that when I'm decorating, especially the type where I'm using the star tip, that doesn't get every teeny tiny nook and cranny. I don't want the red pound cake able to be seen through it. So this will also prevent the raspberry jam from bleeding through and blending with the top coat of frosting as I'm working with it. Also on the back, I'm using this as an opportunity to smooth out so you don't really see that box shape for me cutting those pieces out. Put it in the fridge until hard for at least a couple hours. Apologies for the blurry focus in these shots. I take some flattened marzipan, some of the leftover that I had from the organs, and I'm molding it to this little lamb's head. It kind of looks like clay. It's just so much easier to work with than if you were to have frosting on the head. I just take piece by piece and mold it in and use those ceramics 101 skills that you've been waiting to have a use for. Gentle, very delicate around the ears. Now you're gonna start noticing that this lamb is getting top heavy because of all this marzipan that I'm putting on it. But I will show you a trick later for what to do if the thing is starting to list. You can see it's starting to fall. And having the frosting later on helps to balance it out. It's because this thing is just loaded with marzipan on its head right now. Use your pastry bag with the star pastry tip to decorate this. You can do whatever you want. This is what I did. And you notice that I have it on a plate of the coconut grass because I don't want to handle and move the lamb once it's on the plate. I get lazy in the back. This is a tip. If you don't feel like doing the whole thing on the whole thing, then don't. You don't have to. Nobody can tell you what to do. Oops. As you can see, as you run out in the pastry bag, it becomes more challenging. So do the back for last because you can cover up, not mistakes, but yeah, your mistakes. I like to swirl it with the offset spatula to give it that look. And then with the offset spatula, you can fill in any little gaps that you got. And right there, that's my trick. I am putting the coconut grass in the back to balance the little lammy. Now I am taking black decorative icing here with a tip and drawing a little face. So cute. And now I'm using the pink to do the ears. And making a cute little bow. Aww. Here it is. Look how beautiful. Look how sweet. How symbolic of Easter, innocence, rebirth. And from a profile so noble, a noble beast. You would never guess what's inside of it, just by the looks of this. And it doesn't know what's coming. Poor little thing. Are you ready? Let's do this. Let's cut into this thing and see. Oh my God, the knife. It looks so bad. It's literally a cake, guys. But don't mind the fuzzy on my sweater. I have my arm in front by accident, but I'm trying to spare you seeing this thing get decapitated. But you're gonna see it in a second anyway. Bah. There it is. Everybody can fight over who gets that piece. Now I'm trying to remember, the heart is around this area. So I want to try to cut with keeping that particular one intact. This particular slice is only going to have cake in it, sadly. Now let's try to do the heart without messing it up. I can see it. I'm gonna go a little big here. Ugh. So we got some of the lungs. We can pull those out to show the heart. There we go. Bloop. And bloop. And there is the heart. I'm gonna shift it just so it looks nice for presentation's sake. It's all about presentation. Aw, give it to your sweetheart, the heart slice. Next, this one's gonna be pretty big. This should include the lungs and some of the liver. Yep. I can see it. And some of the stomach. There's some of the rumen too. There it is. Oop, oop, to the left, to the left. There it is. And there's the liver. Part of the liver anyway, because that thing was huge. And the other portions of the lungs. The lungs you're not going to get intact because they're lengthwise. Let's see, this should have some more liver and stomach. That's kidneys and the intestines in the back. Reminder everyone, this is literally marzipan and cake. Don't get mad. I think this kind of stuff is funny. It's actually a really good cake too. Look, we've got intestine and kidney. I like to shift them. Let's find this liver. I just want to see it. Ooh, yeah. There it is with the gallbladder. And our last piece with some kidney and intestine. And then make this into a more manageable slice. And beyond this is for presentation, but when I ate this, I cut it in half because these are big slices. Who wants to see the brain? You can tell people, eat this and you'll be smart. Isn't that what they say? This brings me so much joy. I can't explain why. I started off having this be a red velvet lamb cake based off steel magnolias with the armadillo cake. And I made that and it wasn't enough. And I was like, I'm gonna make marzipan organs in this thing. It thoroughly entertains me, and I hope somebody on the internet is entertained too. There it is, all cut up. Happy Easter!